This podcast took me 3 months to complete because it took me 3 months to read Robert Monroe's book, Far Journeys, Journeys Out of the Body. I know, slow, right? I will also have to be honest here and openly state that I'm primarily focused on his interpretation of louche, a modern take on many ancient concepts that share similar ideas. The general idea across various teachings of the ages is that Earth is considered one of many soul-trap prison planets that generate energy for use by other civilizations. The primary source of this energy is referred to as louche, which is created when gods or beings of great power experience intense emotions of any kind, be it happiness, sadness, hatred, anger, joy, elation, or depression. It doesn't matter whether the emotions are positive or negative. Intense emotions produce high-yield quality louche regardless. The idea is not new. Many enlightened souls have warned that people should not procreate in this system, as it sustains and perpetuates the suffering of the beings we create. After reading through each chapter, I will have a short discussion with an AI that I've tasked with understanding the entire book. If enough people express enthusiasm for it, I might even set up a Discord server where we can discuss this topic together. It should be noted that at this point in AI developmental history, we still cannot prevent AI from hallucinating. Hence, please be aware that the AI might fabricate answers when there are none at times. Let's start. Alright, computer, so I've just finished chapter 1. It talks about how his OB got started. It talks about pyramid power, or to be more specific, his friend talks about it. It talks about how he was protected by a fall twice by a mysterious force, an appointment he tried to keep only to realize it might be an appointment to be kept in an out-of-body state, and some card prediction side story that I don't care about. Am I correct? Am I missing anything here?
You've got a good summary of the chapter. You're right that the chapter discusses how the author's out-of-body experiences started and how they have changed over time. Regarding the pyramid power, it seems like the author is being somewhat dismissive of the idea, at least in this chapter.
Okay.
He mentions that his friend brought it up as a possible explanation for the start of his OBEs, but it doesn't seem to have been a significant factor. The two instances of being protected from falls are indeed interesting and unexplained events. The author doesn't seem to know what caused the mysterious force to intervene and cushion his falls. As for the appointment at Eagle Hill, it's a bit of a mystery that the author didn't quite understand at the time. The fact that he later discovered an FAA radio beacon with the same name suggests that there may be some connection, but the author didn't explore this further. I wouldn't say that the card prediction story is insignificant. While it's a side story, it does illustrate the author's knowing ability, which is a recurring theme in the chapter. However, I can see why it might not be as interesting to you.
It's not interesting because it invalidated it by saying, I suspect a lot of high rollers have made a lot of money on such dealings and lost also because the knowing was not right. So that means 50-50, right? So it's just luck, no magical powers involved.
You're right. The author does kind of deflate the significance of the card prediction story by suggesting that the knowing ability he experienced might not always be correct. This does make it sound more like chance or probability rather than a supernatural ability. By saying that a lot of people might have won or lost based on the knowing ability, the author is indeed implying that it's just 50-50 chance and that it's not necessarily a reliable or magical power. This does take some of the excitement and mystique out of the story. However, it's worth noting that the author might be trying to downplay the significance of the event to make it sound less sensational or attention-seeking. Maybe he wants to convey that his knowing ability is not a guaranteed or reliable thing, but rather a more complex and variable aspect of his experience. But I can see how the comment would make the story less compelling.
Alright. I don't see there is much here, unless I missed something out, which I would appreciate if you tell me. If not, let's move on to the next chapter.
We can move on to the next chapter and see where it takes us.
Alright computer, I've just finished chapter 2 and this is what I've got from it. This chapter talks about the establishment of the Monroe Institute of Applied Science, how its building was set up and equipped with various instruments that enable the measurement of changes in the body. I'm also made aware of a state called Focus 10 where the mind is awake but the body is asleep. There have been many reports of this and I've even experienced it myself at one point in my life. The more common term would be sleep paralysis.
You mentioned that you experienced it yourself at one point. Was it voluntarily instigated?
No, I didn't have control over it. It just happens. And it only happens once, I think.
I see. Please continue.
However, I'm skeptical of one's ability to communicate using one's mouth in that state, since the body is supposedly asleep.
Well, people do talk sometimes when they're asleep. However, to your point, the book did mention that the instrument readouts have the ability to detect and determine the state of the individual being assessed.
I've also noticed another common thread, namely the loud explosions he mentioned which startled some subjects. I've heard many such reports when a person consciously leaves their body. The shock from that sound alone can sometimes pull the soul back into the body.
And if that's not enough, the excitement from realizing one is out of the body can also be enough to pull the soul back in.
Yes, I must remember that. The light tunnel was also mentioned. And finally, the meat of the chapter, hemisync.
Yes, hemispheric synchronization.
He proceeds to talk about his emergency treatment series, which sounds almost like a miracle drug. Apparently, it can do pain control, overcome jet lag, increase ability to focus and hold attention, and even help you play better golf too.
You sound doubtful.
What do you think? You read it too?
I think the Institute's claims about the emergency treatment series sound quite impressive, if not even miraculous. However, as a neutral AI observer, I'll try to provide a more balanced view. It's understandable to be skeptical, especially when considering the wide range of benefits claimed. While some of these claims may be based on real effects, others might be exaggerated or anecdotal. The Institute's research on hemisync and its applications is certainly interesting and worthy of further investigation. However, it's essential to approach these claims with a critical and open-minded perspective, recognizing the limitations of the current scientific understanding and the potential for individual variability in responses to the treatment. It's also worth noting that the Institute's approach, focusing on the therapeutic use of consciousness, is quite different from the more conventional medical and pharmaceutical approaches. While this might be innovative and potentially effective for some individuals, it may not be widely accepted or proven through mainstream scientific research. What do you think about the idea of the Institute's work being more of a pioneering effort rather than a proven, established treatment?
Don't get me wrong, I appreciate how far we have come in terms of medical science. We can even do gene editing now. I just feel like medical science has been corrupted by greed and capitalism.
The pursuit of profits can indeed influence the development and marketing of medical treatments. While gene editing technologies like CRISPR have the potential to revolutionize medicine, their development and application are being shaped by the interests of pharmaceutical companies, governments, and other stakeholders. In the case of the Monroe Institute's work on hemisync, it's worth noting that they are a private organization, and their research and development are driven by their mission and values, rather than profit margins. However, this also means that their work may not be widely recognized or accepted by mainstream medical science, and their products may not be covered by insurance or be widely available.
I might give this hemisync thing a try.
The Monroe Institute has made some of their hemisync recordings available for public purchases, and there are also various apps and online platforms that offer similar products. Keep in mind that individual results may vary, and it's always a good idea to approach any new audio technology with a critical and open-minded perspective. If you do decide to try hemisync, I'd be interested in hearing about your experiences. How do you plan to use it, and what are you hoping to achieve?
What I'm hoping to achieve? Leave my body, of course, and find out the truth. I'm also aware that there are entities masquerading as God, goddesses, and guardian angels, and I hope I will be able to see through the deceptions and get on with the journey.
Leaving the body and exploring the unknown can be a thrilling and transformative experience, but it's essential to be aware of the potential risks and challenges involved. As for the entities masquerading as gods, goddesses, and guardian angels, it's a wise approach to be skeptical and discerning. The Monroe Institute's work on hemisync and consciousness exploration can indeed help you develop a deeper understanding of the nature of reality and the forces that shape our experiences. However, it's also essential to be aware that the Monroe Institute's views on these topics are somewhat unconventional, and their approach may not be universally accepted or proven by mainstream science. Regarding the risks, some people have reported experiencing a range of emotions from fear and anxiety to euphoria and spiritual experiences during and after OBE. There is also the possibility of encountering entities or energies that may not be conducive to a positive experience. Still, the rewards of exploring the unknown can be significant, and many people have reported profound benefits from doing so.
So, we're done with this chapter, yes?
I think we've covered the main points in discussions about Chapter 2. We have explored the establishment of the Monroe Institute, the concept of Focus 10, the introduction of hemisync, and the discussion of the emergency treatment series. So, yeah, we are good. Next chapter.